Yeah, this has been a really hard video for me to do. Like, I can't believe I'm finally putting it out there about my disability. Hey everyone, it's me, Asifa Lahore. I'm back again. So guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification if you want to see new videos. So this video has been a very long time coming. I was on Google the other day, and as you do, I typed in my name and I saw that my disability was one of the most searched things on Google. So I thought, you know what, it's time I did a disability video and I actually told you all about my disability. Now, I've mentioned my disability here and there in my drag race reviews and other videos here and there, but I've never really told you all about it, and I've never really told you how it affects me. So here goes. This is very difficult for me to talk about because it's something that I've lived with my entire life. And to be honest, I'm only just coming to terms with it because it's really affecting me at this point in my life. So I have a rare genetic eye disorder called retinitis pigmentosa. Now, retinitis pigmentosa affects the retina at the back of your eye. I want you all to imagine, like, when you're in the cinema and you see the cinema screen, the retina is like the cinema screen in the back of your eye. So it literally projects the image from your eyes to your brain so that you can see. Now, retinitis pigmentosa affects about 25,000 people in the UK. So it's a very rare genetic disorder. And the way it works is it targets the light cells or the cone cells in the retina. And basically, it's a progressive eye disorder. So the older and older you get, the more sight you lose. So essentially, the older you get, the blinder you get. And that's really difficult for me to say. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa when I was 11 years old. And my mum and dad were told that by the time I was So I was diagnosed... God, I can't believe how difficult this is for me to talk about. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa when I was 11, and I was diagnosed at St. Thomas's Hospital in South London. And my mum and dad were told that by the time I would be in my mid-20s, I would go totally blind. That basically I would lose all the cells, all the cone cells and the rod cells in my retina, and I wouldn't be able to see. People that are diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa tend to lose their eyesight quite quickly. And when I was 11, like leading up to my diagnosis, my parents told me that I would always complain about not being able to see the TV screen properly. And because I loved watching cartoons, I would like go all the way up to the TV, like really close so I could see properly. And whenever I would read stuff, like if I was reading books, I know this is my phone, it's not a book, but whenever I would read books, I would read them like super, 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 super close. So my parents just assumed it was, you know, short-sightedness and that I needed glasses. So I went to the opticians with my parents, and the optician said that there's a problem here and we would need to refer you to a specialist. So I was referred to an eye specialist. I can't really pronounce the word. I think it's optometrist at St. Thomas's Hospital, and I was diagnosed there. Now, my parents took it quite badly because my older brother is mentally disabled, he's autistic, and he is 3 years older than me. And then I'm the middle child, and then it's my younger sister. So I think dealing with my brother's autism and me, you know, being disabled with my eyesight really took quite a toll on them. And obviously being parents, you know, that are from a third world country like Pakistan, their English ain't that amazing. And my parents just, I guess, just left me to it. They just thought, you know what, his eyesight is great at the moment. And I knew something was wrong, but I kind of wasn't told about my diagnosis. And it's only when I got a bit older, when I was about 18, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a bit of research about my condition, about retinitis pigmentosa. And I went to my GP and I was referred to Moorfields Eye Hospital. And at 18 years old, I went to Moorfields and I did some more research about my condition, and I was told about my condition, and they registered me as partially sighted, because the way retinitis pigmentosa affected me in my teenage years was that in my right eye, I only had 10% vision. And the best way I describe it is that in my right eye, there's like a big massive black blob in the center, and I can't see through that blob. But around, like, my peripheral vision, I can see really, really well. So I only have 10% vision in my right eye. And in my left eye, I can see like really, really okay, but it's kind of like my peripheral vision is bad, but my central vision is really, really good. And, I can see sort of like 90% out of this eye. So, during my teenage years, it didn't really affect me. But I decided to register as, partially sighted with my local council and my local social services. And, I've always been confident. I've always been independent. I didn't really... Although I knew I was entitled to disability living allowance, I kind of didn't apply for it because I guess I had other things to deal with in my life, sexuality. And at the time when I was 18, I was chasing I was auditioning for like drama school and just sort of living my dream basically. So I didn't really, the way I saw it is, if my disability isn't affecting me now, then I'm not going to focus on it. And all through my teenage years and my 20s, I'm 36 by the way, just so you know. Every year I would go to Moorfields, I'd have a checkup. They would basically take shots of my retina and my eye, and they would see how my eyesight, the loss of my eyesight was progressing. And for whatever reason, I didn't lose my entire sight in my mid-20s. And I remember when I went to Moorfields for the first time, they told me, eat a lot of green vegetables, eat a lot of orange vegetables, because orange vegetables, like swag, sweet potatoes, like carrots, really help the retina. They really feed the retina. They've got a lot of vitamin A in them, omega-3 oils. So, I ate really, really well. And I put it down to that. I put it down to that and my early sort of vegetarian veganism years. And so every year through my 20s and early 30s, I basically I lost sight. I would have my numbers on my glasses and my contact lenses change every year. But it didn't affect me because, when I put my glasses on, it didn't correct my vision 100%, but it gave me enough vision to go out there, do what I needed to do. One thing I really talk about is the squint in my eyes. So if I look directly into the camera, you guys can probably see that one of my eyes wanders. So my right eye wanders a lot. And I can talk about it now and I don't care now, but when I was at school and when I was a teenager and when I started performing, I would never really talk about my squint because I was embarrassed. I didn't want people knowing that I was disabled. And right now I can just look straight into the camera and not care that my eyes are like that. I don't really care. Shout out to my drag sister, Kennedy Davenport. She's got a squint and she don't care, and neither do I. There was an option like early on where I could, you know, I could have had my squint sorted out and have an operation and have it centered, but it wasn't a priority for me. Other things in my life were a priority, you know, especially dealing with the whole gay Muslim issue in my own life. So that kind of took center stage in my 20s. So yeah, I when I began performing in drag, and when I began performing like in theatres prior to like my drag, the way retinitis pigmentosa affected me was at night time I can't see really well, and in dark atmospheres I can't see at all. So when I'm performing drag shows, or when I'm like DJing in nightclubs or doing my club nights or whatever, when I'm in dark lit circumstances, I can't see people that are right in front of me. So many of you may have come to my club nights or seen me out and about performing and gone, "Hey Asifa," and I've gone, "Hi, pleasure to meet you," or it's only when you're right up close to me that I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's Steve," or it's, you know, Fatima or whatever. But a lot of people, like, because they don't know about my eye condition, they take it really, really personally, especially gays. Like, you know, when gays are like, "Oh, why is she not talking to me? Why is she being so bitchy to me?" Oh, you know, they think that I've got an issue with them because I, you know, even though they're walking right in front of me, I can't see them. And it's going to sound really weird. When I'm performing to like an audience, I can't see an audience. So I kind of have to make believe. Well, not make believe. I know there's an audience there. I can hear them, but I can only see their silhouettes. So I kind of have to make believe that there's a woman right in front of me and I'm going to perform straight to her. Or there's, you know, a kid to the side. I'm going to look at him. And I kind of make up, you know, people in my imagination so that I can perform properly. And people aren't aware of my eye condition. And it's only been recently that I've really begun showing it to the world and sharing it with the world. So that's, you know, up until 3 years ago, that's how my eye condition was affecting me. Like, it was only at night time. It was only when I would go out performing. And 3 years ago, like in my early 30s, I noticed that my eyesight was like deteriorating quite rapidly. And before I go on, one thing I want to say about retinitis pigmentosa is that there's no cure for it. When I was diagnosed at 11, I was told there's no cure. This is a genetic disorder. You're going to lose your eyesight. However, you know, back then, I was diagnosed in 1994. I'm showing my age now. And they were doing something called stem cell research, and it was decades away. So, you know, I just lived with the idea that, wow, like, Asifa, you're going to have to like live your life now, because by the time you're 25 or 35, you're going to be totally blind. And I'm talking about it now like it's so easy, but, you know, when you live with that, when you live with you're going to go blind, it kind of makes you speed up life. Like, right, you're not going to see for the majority of your life. You're only going to see life for like 10, 20 years. You need to do everything now. So, you know, when people say, Asifa, like, "Why are you so confident? Why are you so fearless?" I think it's down to my disability. You know, I think my disability caused me to live. It caused me to like come out. It caused me to transition. It caused me to enter into a gay marriage before my transition. It caused me to come out and get a divorce from that gay marriage and transition, because I always felt that, unlike the majority of the world, I have limited time and I need to do everything now because I'm losing my sight. And sorry, I need to take a moment. I want this video to be like really real, and I'm not going to edit it a lot. Like, I just want to be real with everyone. you know, when you're living with something like that, it causes it causes your life to like have urgency. Like whatever you want to do in your life, you need to do it now. And I guess in all of like the challenges in my life, like, you know, I'm a super like intersectional person. Like that, my disability has always been at the back of my mind, that look, I need to go for the things I really want in life, and I need to do them now, because ultimately my disability may affect my dreams. My disability may affect my desire for change, like to change the world, to live my dreams, to have a successful career. And for such a long time, it really scared me. It really, really scared me. I think part of it still scares me even now. So 3 years ago, October 2016, about a year after I did Muslim Drag Queens, on one of my yearly checkups at London Moorfields, my optometrist basically said that my eyesight had deteriorated to such a level that they would have to re-diagnose me as severely sighted and blind. And if, you know, although it was hard for me to take, I could see that the things that I could read easily, like a few years before, I couldn't read them. Like, I couldn't read like the simplest, biggest things. I was finding it so hard, like to go around London, like on the tube, looking at like where the trains were going, going around the train stations. Even like I was finding it difficult, like in the supermarkets, to see like the prices of products. And I was finding it really difficult, like on the computers and like doing my admin work, sending invoices to like gigs and venues and stuff, and even like doing my tax returns, I like found really difficult. And I would like zoom in on things and like use magnifiers and special software, but even then I was finding it so difficult, because when I got used to something, like a few months later, I'd have to like reconfigure it because I was constantly like losing sight. And I think that really hit me. Like it really hit me that, God, I'm getting to a point now where I need support. Like I need like help. And you know, it was around the time that I was starting my transition, and I applied for something called PIP, which is like a benefit that disabled people receive. And I'm currently in the middle of applying for a benefit called Access to Work, which helps like disabled people like stay in work, whether it's self-employment, like me as Britain's first Muslim drag queen, or whether it's like you know, paid employment. So when I was re-diagnosed as severely sighted and blind, I went to like I was referred to like my local social services, and they taught me like how to use like a walking cane. And, you know, when I get to a point where my eyesight like diminishes a lot, I'm going to get like guide dog training. And I had to like have different sorts of like lightings fitting into my kitchen, for example, because I can't see really well in like certain lighting. So I had to have like lighting fitted into the bathroom, to the kitchen. And so for example, when I pour like hot water from the kettle, I have this little thing like that I have to put on the mug. It's kind of like a controller, and when you put it in, it beeps when it gets to a point that it, you know, I can stop, because I can't see the water going into the mug, but that would tell me that it's reached a point where I need to stop pouring. And I also had to have like a different type of shower fitted in, like a shower where I can sit down in it and have a shower. I think the last 3 years have been really difficult because like going from like such a like independent person who doesn't rely on anyone or anything for help, it's been like hard to let go of that independence, and it's also been humbling to like to ask for help and let people into your life, like social workers or people coming to check in on you that you're okay, that things are going well. Yeah, it's been humbling, it's been challenging, it's been difficult, and I think it's something that I'm still dealing with. I'm trying to think how else my eyesight affects me. Traveling, it can affect me. Like, if I were to call an Uber right now, sometimes I can't see like the apps properly. So I've got like a special app that allows me to zoom in on my iPhone, or, I have to do like screenshots and then zoom in on the screenshots. And it takes up a lot of my memory, and I have to constantly like, delete stuff from my phone because that's the only way I can see. Or sometimes like if I'm going on the train, for example, and I can't see like the train times, I use my phone to like zoom in on the train times, just so I can see the trains. And sometimes people look at you really weird because obviously like I'm brown, and the way the world is right now, people think, oh, why is she taking pictures of you know the security boards or the train boards? Is there something dodgy going on? And if I have an extremely like big backpack, or like I'm going to drag shows and I've got my entire case, people do look at me weirdly when I'm doing that. But I'm not going to tell them, honey, I'm blind and I can't see. And sometimes like, to find out like platform numbers and things like that, I just go on the National Rail website on my phone and then find out like where the trains are coming into, at my local station, what platform, etc. That's one way how my eyesight affects me. Many of you know Sergio. Sergio, is he supports me a lot because he's known about my eye condition for years. And sometimes before I do a show, I do like a risk assessment, especially if it's a new venue. And Sergio will be like, the audience are going to be there, you need to point there, you need to do there. And he does a lot like of my background work for me. And I could not work without him, which is great. I'm so glad and lucky to have him. I want to end this on a positive note. And I want to end it by like, if you guys have any questions about my disability or how it affects me, or any specific questions, you're more than welcome to ask me in the comments below, and I'll do my best to keep up to date and answer your questions. But I want to end this positively. And the good news is that since I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa in 1994, stem cell research has like come so far that so many eye conditions are now being cured. And it's amazing that I'm living through an era where potentially I could have more sight the older I get, rather than losing my sight. And I've got an appointment at Moorfields on the 18th of June. And it's kind of like my first assessment for gene therapy. And what that potentially could mean is that the cells that I'm losing in my retina, they're going to inject those like missing cells into the back of my retina, and it could potentially like revitalize my eyesight. And I'm currently going to go for human trials with that. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Hopefully it will work, because I will live a happy, long, healthy life, but I want to live with as much eyesight as possible. And I just want all your good wishes. And for those of you that, are people of faith, like pray for me, like whatever religion you're part of, please pray for me, because I could really do with your prayers. And for those of you who don't, then just, I could do with your wishes and positivity, like send positivity my way. I love all of you, and Yeah, this has been a really hard video for me to do. Like, I can't believe I'm finally putting it out there about my disability, and I'm sorry if I'm not, you know, the usual Asifa that you know and hear from, but this is a topic that, and this is a part of my identity that I'm still coming to grips with every so often. So yeah, thank you for watching this video.